This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Detroit is the greatest!
Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Takes, throws, end zone, Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Welcome to another episode of the Motor City Sports Rant. I had to think of the name there for a second. I almost forgot it. There's too many shows that I'm a part of, and my brain is just fried on this Monday evening in the lovely Laurel Park Studios. I'm not sure if I remember if I introduced myself, but as always, I am Jason Jarvi. Follow me on Twitter at Jarvi the King. With me tonight, as always, the faithful, the doc, the phone, John Macaroon. How's it going, bud?
And you can't teach
you so much. Yes, you
I'm
can
awesome.
teach that.
I am awesome. The Tigers had a 6-1 week. Think they turned it around after we were freaking out.
Shut
we were
up.
panicking last Monday.
Shut your mouth.
After they blew the 8-run lead, Brad Ausmus lost his cool. He did his thing. He finally showed some passion, and it sparked the Detroit Tigers. 6-1, great week. Closer to 500 as we're recording this episode, and things are looking up. They're playing Philadelphia at home. This homestand, like we talked about, has turned out to be fruitful and lucky, knock on wood. The injuries to Miguel and Jordan Zimmerman don't look to be severe. So what else can you complain about?
We saw this happening. We knew that they were playing a bunch of bad teams at home. It's a roller coaster.
You're not excited?
Not really. I mean, I guess if I look at it purely as a fan and without my brain, I'm excited because they've been, as you said, 6-1. They've actually started to hit the ball, which, if anything, that's probably the most exciting. Besides that, Michael Fulmer also with his 11 Ks, the first Tiger pitcher to do that. But they're doing it against bad teams. They're not doing it against, they're not doing it against Cleveland. They aren't doing it against Chicago White Sox. They're not doing it against Kansas City. They're mopping up against bad teams, which they should do.
Listen, Jason, the age-old adage is you can only play who's on the schedule. Hey, if these teams that are in front of them right now are terrible, hell, they could have gone out and lost those games. They went out. They've played solidly. Since the tirade, things have changed. There are other reasons besides Brad Ausmus finally showing some passion. Cameron Maybin coming along and being inserted into that lineup has made the lineup stretch a little bit longer. The emergence of JD, whose bat's heated up. Ian Kinsler is having a great season, and this is a guy that we got to talk about, is a guy that's just mashing the baseball. Has, I think, a 9 or 10 game hitting streak going on. This is a player that, when you ask for who's the leader of this team, you can almost point to Ian Kinsler and say, that's the guy. He stepped it up. Even through the turmoil, he's been a solid performer.
I'm not saying it's their fault for having to play who's on their schedule. Yeah, they
beat them.
They're playing a bunch of bad teams. But then if you want to be a good team who makes the playoffs, you have to perform when you start playing good teams, which we haven't seen yet. And until you really see that, I'm not ready to, go through a sugar high and go, yeah, Tigers, we're back. We're going to be in this playoffs again. Yeah, we're going to probably be back in 500 in the next couple days.
Did you partake in watching a game at Comerica Park? I think you saw Zimmerman.
I went. I went Sunday. I saw Jordan Zimmerman pitch. Unfortunately, the seats. I'm not going to complain about going, but the seats where they were, there was a ton of people going up and down the aisles, and it blocked literally from the pitcher to home plate. It sucked. What was it? Miggy's home run. I was like, oh, I would have loved to see that. Pissed me off.
Man, I've never had that experience where a seat that I had. I mean, I've had upper deck seats, I've had faraway seats, but I've never really had. I mean, at the old Tiger Stadium, they'd have the really cheap seats with the beam in the way.
Yeah.
I did sit there once as a kid, but for the most part, most of the seats at Comerica Park are okay. But why were people getting up and down so much? What was going on?
Part of the reason was it was Brownie Day. They had all the little girls, all their girl troops, and they were getting their faces painted and needing to go to the bathroom and go to get more food. So they're up and down. There was one lady who was in front of us who just kept, she literally stood for the entire top of the first. And I was just pissed.
So watching a sporting event, having fans go up and down the aisle, interrupt you all the time is something that would piss you off and ruin your experience?
It would. And it hasn't happened a ton. And a lot of seats are really good. It happened to me when I went to the Monday Night Football game when we killed the Bears. For whatever reason, where I was, we were right next to the row, and like it just blocked the view, and it was dumb.
No, see, my sporting experience around town has usually been positive. I mean, going to WrestleMania at Ford Field, checking out the Lions and Tigers and Pistons. I don't recall really too many situations where I had a bad time. Sometimes when fans at Ford Field get a little unruly and everyone's standing up to check out the fights and there's a little bit of a buzz, you kind of, lose focus of the game a little bit. But for the most part, I've had good experiences. So I'm sorry you had that on Sunday.
Oh, well, thank you for the apology.
And guess
it means
what?
a whole lot.
And guess what? You're probably part of the reason why Jordan Zimmerman hurt his groin.
Probably.
The DSP curse. You know what goes on, right? Whenever we talk about trading a player, then he goes off for a hitting streak. Whenever we give praise to a player, then he goes on an awful, his ability to perform goes away. So you're part of the DSP, man, and you went to the game. Our ace pitcher gets hurt shy of his 30th birthday. It's all your fault.
It's probably because I didn't stay in my seat for very long. I was up and down. I was trying to... I lasted as long as I could, and then I was like, I got to get out of here.
So with the Tigers, I was curious, and we were talking a little bit before we recorded. They've been streaky for the most part, for the better part of the last 3 to 4 weeks, where they go on losing streaks of 11 of 13, win 6 of 7, and it's a situation where we're looking obviously for consistency with this team. But I've kind of liked it. I mean, it's provided a roller coaster mentality. I'm still invested. I'm watching every game. I kind of like it. I know that we want to have, the better side of it and want to win more games.
You want a bipolar team? You want to?
I kind of enjoy it.
You want to
yeah.
ride the highs and then complain when they're in the lows?
Exactly. Right now, when there's
It certainly makes for good radio.
It does. When there have been these long losing streaks, then we got the Ausmus watch, and it's been cooled off quite a bit now that they've won a few games. And it's a situation where we get a chance to talk about what is this real team. I think this is a bipolar team that you hope when it's crunch time and it's time for them to step up, they have the longer winning streak. I think they can do it. The question is stick and stay, watch them, make sure you ride it out through the whole season, and let's see what happens. I'm excited watching baseball lately.
These Tigers are 500. I'm not there. That's what they're going to be.
They've kind of sucked the excitement out of you, huh?
It's all going to level out. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. Not with this team. Not with Brad Ausmus isn't the answer, and he's likely saved his job for another couple weeks until we have another prolonged losing streak, or maybe we win 3 out of 10. This is going to be the entire season. Do you still think that we need to fire Brad Ausmus? You were saying that we needed to fire Brad Ausmus. Now that we went 6-1 in our last 7 games, has that changed?
Well, okay. Starting with his rant, it's obvious that he needed to show his team that he had passion and he stood up for his guys and that he showed the fans, okay, I'm into it. And whether it was staged or not, in the big picture, grand scheme of things, it helped the ball club. Whether you believe how much or so, it did help. Now, do I ultimately believe this is the guy for the job? No. But do I believe his seat is as hot as it was last time we recorded? No. But should he be fired? I believe that now he has earned himself a couple extra weeks, and he's at least shown that, hey, I can rally the troops when things are at their worst, and, hey, you got to ride it out. I don't think Al Avila is going to make this move quickly.
I mean, at what point, though, does Brad Ausmus ever get a vote of confidence saying, hey, you are the manager for the rest of this season?
You said it. The team's bipolar. They could go next week and lose 6 straight. And really, it depends on the type of losses. You've seen them play better baseball. Granted, it's been against worser opponents. But, Jason, you got to admit, they're crushing the baseball. They're playing a little bit better defensively. The mistakes have gone down. And the good thing is Brad Ausmus hasn't been counted on to make any decisions.
Yeah, I think if they want to have any kind of success, I think Al Avila needs to be looking to shop Justin Upton right now. Because looking at the game that I was at yesterday, I saw the outfield of the future. I want to see JD Martinez, Cameron Maven, and Steven Moya. That would be the outfield that you'd want to see for the next 5 years. That they got a ton of power, like you said with Maven, he's been a breath of fresh air. And I think everybody kind of sucked in their breath when he had the catch where he ran into the wall. And I don't know. This team, it's just, I said last week, it's a mess. It's, even though it's still a mess.
What would it take for you to get excited about the Tigers? Would it have to be like a 15-game winning streak? Would you have to see a no-hitter, a complete game? Would you have to see something spectacular? You seem down on the Tigers, whereas I understand why, because you're looking big picture like I have, but in the short-term present, be a little bit excited. They're winning. They're playing winning baseball, and they're in these games.
The main thing that I want to see then that would really change my mind about this team is consistency. I want to see, and it's in two aspects of the game. And it's the two basic concepts of baseball. I want to see consistency hitting. I want to see our team being able to keep them around in games, or maybe even come back and win a game here and there. And then I want to see the consistency in pitching. Verlander, can Verlander keep up what he's been doing? Zimmerman, whenever he comes back, is he going to be right, or is he going to lose something now the rest of the season with this groin injury? We saw Michael Fulmer. He had that great performance, but he's also had some not so stellar outings this season. If we could have some consistency from at least those three pitchers, maybe Daniel Norris comes back and gives us some semblance of what he was last year. And maybe if Anibal Sanchez, if he can at least, I'm not even saying asking him to go 500, maybe win 1 out of every 3 games. That's if I can see that from this team, then I'll be on board.
Okay,
and it's not gonna be a quick thing. There's not like, if they win 5 more games, I'm gonna believe them. I would have to put a more longer term goal. If by the end of June we see better consistent play all around through the team, then I'll start getting on board this team.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying. You want them to not play like they have, where they go out there for a stretch and lose 11 of 13, where they have leads and give them up. But you gotta also remember, look what they're doing well. JD Martinez, Miggy's back. They made minor adjustments. They've said it all through the broadcast that he just made a quick adjustment with his footwork, just kind of put his foot down gently, and he's swinging the bat flawlessly. I mean, he's mashing the baseball. He looks relaxed. And, of course, that comes on the heels of me wanting to trade him for a 4th pitcher and a bullpen arm. So I got to eat my words a little bit on the Doc and Jock podcast, which comes out every Thursday. I said it. And, again, though, I did also say that I felt like that if they could trade him, they should, because he was on the verge of getting hurt. And what happens? It wasn't his fault, but he got plunked on the knee. And it looks like in the first game versus Philly, he's still kind of hobbling a little bit. But, in terms of Miggy, JD, Castellanos, they're mashing the baseball. It's nice to see. It's nice to see that the expectations that we have for the offense is coming true. And the bullpen, as much as we ride them, they've kind of made some minor adjustments. And like I said before the season started, the offense could help the bullpen if they would come in, game out, have 5 to 6 runs, have a lead. Then the bullpen could ease into it. Alex Wilson's kind of turned things around. Lowe's a little bit better, and then you got to talk about K-Rod. As much as we laugh at him in terms of the fact that he can't throw the ball that hard, he's come in now. I think at this point leads the league in saves. He's done well. We have to look at some things a little bit positively, Jason. So I implore you, just look at the positives. I know that in the grand scheme of things, it's not a World Series team, but day to day, I'll take a good week when you can get it. No doubt. Take a good week, man. It's okay.
So do you think they can make the playoffs?
I think that we have an opportunity at the trade deadline. If Al Avila can be the guy like Dave Dombrowski, who was wheeling, dealing, can make some moves, potentially if you can get one more starter and one more additional bullpen arm, you could go on a run. Yes. With that offense, if it's sustainable, can score 6 to 7 runs. I don't think it's poised for postseason success, but you could at least get there. You could contend. And now you look forward for the week ahead. We got a series versus the White Sox. So we got a series that we can kind of point to and say, okay, measuring stick, where do we fit in with these guys? And I'm looking forward to seeing it.
How many games do they got against the White Sox?
I believe it's 3. We'll check it. I'll check it right now.
They need to win the series. If they really want to go in the right direction, they need to win 2 out of 3 of those. And that's just if you can't continue to lose series, especially to in-division rivals.
Of course, the games in the division are most important, for sure. But do you really think we're that far off from Cleveland and KC? what we see versus them is situations where we're not putting it all together, where the pitching shows up and the offense goes silent, where the offense is there and the pitching is not there. In those situations, I do believe if they can put it together, you're going to be in more ball games than not. I do believe they can put it together. I do believe that the weather change has affected this offense for the good. And hey, ride it out. Why not?
Yeah, I don't think we're that far away from those teams. The White Sox and Cleveland, I think all the teams are really similar. You have the talent. It's just a matter of when is it actually going to start producing. And I think the Central it's really the story of the Central for as far back as I can really remember is some team starts out hot and then they cool down. Like Minnesota, it's happened to everybody. You have a hot start, and then another team just picks it up. I'm just not sure, and what I'll be waiting for is when the Tigers have that prolonged success. And I'm not talking about a win streak. I'm talking, go 20-10 in a 30-game span.
2010, okay. Yeah, the series is going to take place Friday, Saturday, Sunday, June 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Before that, though, it's going to look good. You're going to go out to the West Coast, play the Athletics. Then you're going to play the Angels. You got a home series versus the Yankees, and then the White Sox. So, I'm looking for around 500 ball in these next stretch of games, and I'm going to pinpoint. I'm going to definitely hone in on that series versus the White Sox.
Yeah.
But I'm going to need you, probably because you're a rational guy. I definitely get a sense when I hear you on the primetime show, 2 to 6. I hear you on there. You're chiming in, getting your voice across on the Hunter, Pasco, and Chapman show. I hear you chiming in, so good for you.
Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, I try and I listen and I try to put in the points that they might be missing.
Now, I need you to be rational because I checked the MLB auctions, and I want to know how you rank this in terms of memorabilia, in terms of Major League history. And I'm going to talk it through. I'm sensing if the Tigers make a great run and get to the World Series and maybe make a run and win it all, then Brad Ausmus's tirade will go down in lore. Now, it's right at the threshold where it would hurt me financially. Right now, as we speak, MLB auctions, if you Google Brad Ausmus tirade or Brad Ausmus auction, they are auctioning off his pullover and the hat that he was wearing that game. The bid is $4,630. The deadline is this Wednesday, 9 p.m. I'm thinking of shelling out the cash to get it. Is it stupid? Is it something where if it is something where the Tigers could potentially make a run, this could be lore in that people will say for generations, this tirade was the one that set him off on a new course, and I could have that piece of memorabilia, maybe frame it, stick it up on the wall, or hell, at the very least, just for the quick pub of saying, hey, a podcast network bought some memorabilia. What do you think? Am I crazy? Buy? Sell? Put my money in my pocket and don't do this? Am I crazy?
What I would say, if you have that kind of disposable income, it could be a really cool memorabilia. Even if they don't go on to win the World Series, you get and it's something you frame and you put in your man's room, because you can always say, hey, that's the sweater that Brad Ausmus covered home plate with. But for sure, if they do go on to somehow win the World Series this year, it magnifies exponentially. So I don't know if it's between me eating or bidding on this Brad Ausmus sweater, I'm probably not going to buy it, but it doesn't have that kind of effect, because if they do end up winning even if they do end up winning the World Series, it's likely not. You can point back to it, but it's not going to be the reason that they won.
No, but it'll be the focal point where it was just after they lost 11 of 13. His ass was on fire. His seat was. Everyone was talking about that. Hey, every single day coming in asking him about his job status. The team was playing terribly, and you just had blown an 8-run lead, and everyone will point to that as being the moment that Brad Ausmus got out of the dugout and did something, and maybe turn around for a World Series team.
Me personally,
yep,
being rational, I can't put out that kind of money for that thing.
Right. Now people are kind of slowing down on the bids. It goes up by increments of $10. And so I know what's going to happen. People are going to wait right up until $850, and then it's going to go up. So I'm thinking the winning bid's probably going to be around $4,800 to $5,100. that hurts. I mean, I don't have that kind of disposable income. I have it. I could technically pay for it right then and there, but I feel like it has value in the neighborhood of $2,500. Like if it was $2,500, buy it now, boom, I would have bought it. And then I would try to justify it. So if I do justify it, do I tell the wife up front that I did it and try to, because it does.
I don't know, it depends on your relationship. You're the psychologist.
Well, I think that.
Dude, I know for me, I always ask my wife and be like, hey, even if I'm like, hey, do we have money for me to buy lunch?
See, her eyes would bug out and I would get yelled at. She would be very upset. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, so I wouldn't do that. I think if I mentioned this to my wife, she'd be like, what? Are you crazy? I mean, if this was I don't know, the football that Paul Ettinger kicked through the field goal and that eliminated us from the playoffs that one year, it might be another thing. If this was Lions, I would be way more apt to buy it, but I can't put out the money. But if you really want to, if this doesn't like kill you, then go for it.
Now, money big, no object, and you have it, and it's something that wouldn't cause a problem in your relationship, and it would be something that would be no problem to make that purchase in one day. Would you buy it? Is it worth it? $5,000?
Why not? If money's no option, then yeah, because it's the possibility that it could be that focal point of what people point to, of what sparked this team to win a World Series.
And I believe I read that I could potentially get a tax write-off from it because some of the proceeds from the auction are going to go help children's t-ball or children's baseball groups across Metro Detroit.
Where's the other part of it going? Is it going back to the Tigers? If the Tigers take any part of that money, I don't know. That would be another stipulation, is if I'm paying this much money, I don't want any of it to go to the Tigers. I want all of it to be donated to some sort of charity.
And here's the problem, though. For something that costs that much, I want to be able to go right then and pick it up. No, they have in the fine print, which I did, kind of read up on and blow up with my iPhone, that it will be shipped within 2 to 4 weeks, within business hours. They're not going to tell you what day. You can't track it. You can't get a certificate of authenticity. They're just saying this is it. And you have to be at the office between 9 and 5 on business days. So in terms of what I do, I'm not here traditional hours. Sometimes I'm here at 10, noon. Sometimes I'm working early, get off later. So that makes it a little tough in that I'm not exactly sure when it would show up here.
Well, if you do buy it, let me know, and I will be stalking wherever you are because I'm going to steal it.
You thief. You would do that too. Now, would you think it'd be something that down the line, I guess the Tigers would have to do something that you could just say, hey, it's here at the office. Maybe have a couple quick tours of the studio, $10, people come in, maybe record something,
no,
see it.
It's so dumb.
Maybe I have to get additional. I could probably make half of it back if they did something.
You are ridiculous.
You don't think
the only way you
it?
make anything back from it is selling it back.
You think
and
so?
you'd buy it and hope that they win a World Series because that's the only way it's going to have any value.
Otherwise, it's looked at for charity. That's what takes the sting out of it for me. It's a lot, and I wonder if people are gonna. You think the action will be heavy at 9:00 on Wednesday?
Definitely, I think that's how all those bids kind of work. But so you said right now it's around 4,600,
4,630,
and if it gets up to 5,000, let's say they don't win the World Series, what's the value? I mean, is it over $100?
No, yeah, exactly. It's just basically
it's then something that you just say, hey, I got the game worn hoodie that Brad Ausmus put on first base or on home base.
Okay.
He's not even with the team.
That's
anymore.
why you were the perfect guy to talk me off the ledge, because I could have did it. I could have pulled the trigger, but in terms of all the factors, the cons are so long. But the one big pro, they win the World Series, it's just going to be exponential to have it here at the office. Hell, I don't even know if it could be good for the network to say, hey, we just got it for that moment. Hey, Podcast Network bought this memorabilia. Boom.
Maybe you should go and talk to Moneybags McGee, the jock.
I'm going to. He'll
go
probably
in with it.
Hell no. If I told him what it would cost, he'd be like, hell no. No,
you guys should buy it. So then once he loses and we miss out on the playoffs, you can have a ritual burning. Then we can have an event.
We can have an event. Okay. Now, to segue off of this for a second, if you had $5 to spend on a piece of memorabilia around town, maybe be the skate that Steve Yzerman walked off on, maybe a basketball that Chauncey hit the half-court shot with, or the basketball in the Malice at the Palace. Something, a piece of Detroit sports memorabilia that you would drop 5 G's on and you would get it. What would you want?
That's a really good question. It would probably be something Lions. I'd really love something with Barry Sanders. Maybe it's the jersey that he went over 2,000 yards in, signed, obviously. I guess it would probably be hard to get his last game worn jersey. They didn't really know that it was going to be his last game. Oh, that's it. The facts. I want the facts that the Lions got from Barry Sanders saying that he was retired.
Yeah, no kidding. You think that's circulating around the office? I'm sure they probably shredded it. Like, yeah, right. Blah.
If it's anywhere, that would be the one I would pay a bunch of money for. Because it's interesting.
Are you a sports memorabilia guy? Do you have anything signed or something of value that you keep at your property? Me personally, I'm not into a whole heck of a lot of baseballs or jerseys signed, things like that. I haven't found that I want to pay $50 to go up to someone who's an athlete and have them sign it for me. I've gone to signings at like radio events and things like that, and where they were there and kind of had Chris Chelios sign some things. But for me, I'm a bobblehead guy. I have a case in my basement of several different varieties of bobbleheads, basketball, NFL, baseball, a lot of Red Wings ones from the past, Hasek holding the cup, Lidstrom holding the cup, Scotty Bowman. And so for me, I like the Alexander Global Promotions brand. They're the best. They're really called the Bobble Dobbles. They're the best. Nowadays, the companies are a little bit cheaper, and so they don't use the great material. But if you go on Amazon or eBay and just type in Bobble Dobbles, oh my gosh, they're great. They're really a nice relic. And one, maybe if I built like, a stand around the office, I would put them around it. They're really nice. For me, I like bobbleheads.
I don't have a ton of memorabilia. The one thing that I have kept, I've kept newspapers and magazines from big stuff. I know when Michigan State won the national championship back in 2000, some stuff from the Red Wings. I collected. You remember back in like 97 when the Wings were going through their cup days, and they would have the inserts of the different players and during the Sunday paper. I collected those, and I still have a bunch of those. But outside of that, I don't have a ton of memorabilia. I have something of Barry Sanders that my wife, back when we started dating, I think for our 1 year anniversary, she got me this Barry Sanders plaque. It was very strange. We joke about it still, but I think there's a coin in there from those flipped during one of his games.
Yeah, see, a lot of people go to these signings, and a lot of these athletes like Pete Rose, they still go around and make a ton of money. I mean, Jared Saltalamacchia is going to be at Fanatic U, Brighton, the Brighton store, the new location, Monday, June 27th. He's going to be doing signings. It's not bad the way the system works. I think you pay like $30-$40 for stuff. You can hand deliver stuff for like $5 and get it signed. But these athletes, they make a little bit extra money for these appearances and things like that. It's a way also to meet the fans and connect. It's a win-win. I'm just not into it. Yeah, I'm not a big memorabilia guy, and thinking about it, I would like to maybe have something of Detroit sports of memory. If the Lions win the Super Bowl, maybe a piece of the turf of the place where they played at, something like that, or something from something that's relatively historic. I would look at.
I just try. I'm more about making the memories than having memorabilia. My favorite times are of going to games, and even just thinking back of things that I've done. We went to the last weekend at Tiger Stadium. We went to a game there. We were at the last game in the Silverdome against the Cowboys. Just all those kinds of memories, even the bad ones. We were there for the Edinger kick, and we were in Atlanta when the Lions lost the first game of 0-16. As much, it would be cool to have memorabilia. I'm just not, in my life right now, I'm not at the point where I need a ton of memorabilia.
No, exactly. I think you and I are the same guy. But see, I'm glad you're part of the network. You're the rational, calm, cool, collected fellow, and you can talk me off the ledge. Let's take a quick time out, come back here, and talk about some news and notes around town and some things that I've been up to, and you as well.
Motor City Sports Rant, DetroitSportsPodcast.com.
Doc here for Fanatic U, Detroit Sports official outfitter and the official outfitter of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. If you're a fan of the Lions, Tigers, Pistons, and Wings, there's no better place to shop than Fanatic U. They opened their newest location out there in Brighton, go check out their wide selection of Detroit sports gear. Livingston County's newest store, the Brighton store, is going to have a signing for Jared Saltalamacchia. I believe it's Monday, June 27th. Go check out the Tigers' backup catcher who's been on fire. Go check it out, fanaticu.com. And if you're going to shop online, go definitely check out fanaticu.com. They have a wide assortment of great gear. They deliver it on time. You have no problems with them. They're very easily accessible, and customer service is really great. fanaticu.com, Detroit Sports official outfitter. And now back to Jarvi and the Doc, Motor City Sports Rant, baby.
Motor City Sports Rant, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. We are back. We're going to talk some more sports. What do you want to talk about, John?
Oh, man, lots to talk about. The Lions, the Pistons. Well, first and foremost, we got to talk about our fellow Sparty, Draymond Green.
Draymond, yup.
Yeah.
Man.
He actually is a player that's actually very polarizing, and for not good reasons. So set the scene. Why the hell's everybody up in arms about Draymond Green? What the hell did he do?
He's in the news because he essentially went Jason Hansen and kicked the Thunder's Steven Adams right in the nuts. And he feels like it's not his fault.
Well,
he actually blamed Russell Westbrook at one point.
Well, they did, Steve Kerr did something that was pretty smart. I mean, in terms of trying to manage it via PR. They say that, hey, man, basketball players kick their legs out all the time. And Draymond said, listen, I wasn't doing it on purpose. It was an accident. But when you really look at it, you break it down on film, Adams is an agitator. And he's somebody that's probably gotten under his skin, and he was like, okay, this is a perfect opportunity. He literally went boom, right in the area.
I saw a tweet that Adam Schefter retweeted of somebody who found, it was a 30-second clip of a bunch of instances where Draymond's driving to the basket, and he kicks out his leg. And it looks a lot like that. And the dude said that he had over 140 clips of Draymond doing this similar thing. But when you watch it, it's strange. He goes up and he comes down and basically just kicks him in the balls.
And it came down Monday evening. Everyone was waiting to see, well, hey, is Draymond going to be suspended? Is the NBA going to have the balls to take some action against a significant player, a prominent player on a team like Golden State? And it didn't do it. They fined him 25 G's. He's not suspended. He's going to be able to go on and help. He's going to be able to go on and try to help Golden State tie the series up.
Even though he's a Sparty, my initial reaction, they should have suspended him. You look at what on the Cavs, Dante Jones, he punched Bismack Biyombo in the junk, looked accidental. He's suspended. So it's clearly a case of it's an all-star versus some guy that the Cavs just signed.
What I was so surprised by was our fans on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. They were like, oh, he's a dirty player. Oh, he's somebody that should be suspended. This is a guy I lost respect for. Does everybody out there listening to this podcast forget about the bad boys? They forget about Bill Laimbeer grabbing the rebound and, swinging his elbows wildly. They remember, do they forget about Rick Mahorn and the style of play that pissed off the Bulls and Michael Jordan, who had to come out and basically say, this brand of basketball will kill the NBA. I think what the Pistons need is a guy like Draymond Green, a guy that will be an agitator, a guy that when something is going down is going to be up in everybody's face. Hey, from time to time, do the dirty work. I mean, this is hockey town. We like guys like Probert. We like guys that are on the grind line, McCarty. I was shocked by the reaction. Why do people lose respect for him?
I think they're vilifying him too much, and I think you see that more nowadays because of SportsCenter. SportsCenter, you can't go 5 minutes without seeing the replay, and when they do show it, they show it about 10 times. Similar with the Odeur and Bautista fight. You just see it so much, and you go on social media, and this is all you see. It gets spread around so much that you get all the opinions of everyone, people who don't even care about the NBA. Probably all the people who are saying that, oh, I've lost a lot of respect of them, they probably haven't been following the Warriors at all. They probably don't really care. They just see it, and they want to give their instant reaction.
And so now you got a situation where Golden State's going to be all up in arms. I do believe they're going to tie the series, and I do believe they are going to have an edge in this series with experience. OKC, though, you could argue, is viewing Golden State as that team that they're trying to overcome and get to the next level. It's a fun series to watch. That's a much better series to check in on than the Cleveland series where they're flopping galore, and that's just an embarrassment. All the side stories are hilarious. If you check out whatever happened to DeMar DeRozan at the arena was funny. LeBron flopping. It's not all about basketball in that series. The best basketball is being played in the OKC series. There are very few moments when you're listening to a radio show and a program and a host is just like validating all your points. And so prior to coming to work today, I came in a little bit later, like at 2 o'clock, and then I started working in the late afternoon. So I got a chance, and I really like radio shows that are simulcast on television. So I just got a chance to peek in for a segment or two of the Colin Cowherd show on Fox Sports 1. And his opening segment was awesome. He was just talking about how he absolutely loved OKC in this position and wanted them to win. And he was just saying that, you know what? OKC is how a true basketball team should play. Inside presence, solid shooting, play great defense, and he went on a great soliloquy explaining why Golden State is actually bad for basketball because of all the kids shooting threes. And if you listen to this podcast, I laid it out several times in terms of how the Pistons are built. I don't want a team built that way. I want a team built that's going to have inside presence, using centers, forwards, playing strong defense. And so the over-reliance on threes was basically dissected by Cowherd, and it was a great segment. I felt so validated. I was like, oh, damn. I said that, a couple months back on the podcast, that's what OKC's doing, is they're playing much better fundamental basketball, and it's great to see they're having some success.
Unfortunately, though, I think it's not the way that the NBA is. The NBA it's a 3-point shooting league right now, and it's not going to change overnight. You see teams like OKC and the Spurs. All it takes is one of these 3-point shooting teams to just get super hot, and if the Warriors come out the next 3 games and they light the world on fire, they can't miss from long range. Oklahoma City is gonna be looked at that they lost again.
And a point that several hosts have made, and a point that is jaw dropping, is a guy like Harrison Barnes is going to get a $100 million contract because he can shoot threes and he's got an outside game. That's what people are looking for. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? You have 2 wild extremes where a guy like Andre Drummond, who's massive on the inside, or a guy like Harrison Barnes is going to get these max deals. I know in basketball, the name of the game is to put the biscuit in the basket. I just say, hey, the laws of physics say if you're closer, you have a better chance of making it. But I never thought we'd actually get to this point, Jason, where these kids can knock shots from almost half court relatively easily. Like Steph Curry has, that's why he's going to be known as a trendsetter. So he could be a guy that's changing the game worldly in terms of all these kids coming up nowadays that want to shoot threes and can actually shoot the basketball. So it's actually interesting because we complain all the time that, hey, who can actually shoot nowadays? And Steph Curry's bringing it back, but I'm more of a guy that, hey, if you can shoot a mid-range, if you can have an inside presence, play defense, that's a more solid route to the title, in my opinion.
I think the one thing that you might just be overlooking a little bit is that the Oklahoma City Thunder do have 2 of the top 5 players in the league, in Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. If you take one of those guys off of that team right now, there's no way that they're competing with the Golden State Warriors. Those guys scored 30 points each. It's not gonna. So you have 2 all-stars on your team right now. You have 2 guys who are the best in the world. Of course, they're gonna be able to give the Golden State Warriors a run for their money.
Who do you think has the edge right now to win the title?
Right now, I probably give the edge. I still have to go with the Warriors. They're the defending champs. If they are all kicking on all cylinders, then they're still going to win the title. After that, I still have to give. I hate to be chalk, but I think it's Golden State and the Cavs right now. Until the Raptors go to Cleveland and are able to take one away from them, then they're nothing to me. In Oklahoma City, I think they're going to do a lot if they go up 3-1 in the series.
Tune into that series. I can't wait to see what happens. That one has all the makings of a series that's just going to go to 7 games.
Yeah, I think I'd rather see, though, Golden State come back and win. I don't want to see the Thunder go up 3-1 because then you just have more potential to not get that 7 games. You want to see the 7-game series, and I'd rather just go back and forth and back and forth.
Very good basketball talk. And a lot of people are peeking in at what the Pistons are going to do. We'll definitely check in with the Pistons as this podcast progresses and as we get closer to the NBA draft. We'll see what the Pistons are going to look at and what they really need to kick it into overdrive and to get to the next level. All right, Jason, speaking of next level, a team in Detroit that plays football, NFL football, some might argue. They don't do that for too many times. But a team that we all love and watch that causes both to have gray hairs that I see in your pictures on Facebook lately.
Thank you. Yes, I have lots of them.
Yes. A team like the Lions has had a few more weeks now to kind of look at what they got with the draft and what they're doing in the organization. Our guy, frequent contributor to our podcast and a guy that you can hear all across the radio stations, even on Detroit Sports 105.1, Josh Katzenstein wrote an article, Detroit News, that got my attention in that he is a guy that is a little bit hypercritical of the Lions. He's a guy that may be the founding member or the council member of the Dungeon of Doom, as you would say. But in the Detroit News, he wrote an article, and here's the tagline. Without star power, Lions' glimmer of a successful season fades. And the thesis of his article is that when you really look up and down the Lions roster, where are the stars? Does this team have enough talent, which you need in the NFL to have success? And he looks up and down the roster and goes, I'm not sure I really see it. And he pointed out that someone at a Lions event came up to him and said the same thing.
I think what the mistake might be, right now we don't have a proven star on our team, or at least on offense. You have Matt Stafford, but he still has some room to grow. And on the defense, you have some budding stars. You got Ziggy Ansah, and that's what I think this team is really kind of full of. It's full of potential where if we are going to be successful this season, you're going to have to see progression from players. You're going to have to see Matt Stafford take a next step, being able to turn wide receivers who aren't Calvin Johnson into Pro Bowl type players. I'm not saying that Marvin Jones has to be the second coming of Calvin Johnson, but what I'd like to see is him take a guy like TJ Jones or Jeremy Curley and make him have a productive season. You want to see stepping up from Eric Ebron. I think he's probably the one guy you can pinpoint outside of Matt Stafford who needs to take the next biggest step if we're going to be successful, because he has a lot of talent, but he's been a clown.
Do you follow him on Twitter?
I don't.
Oh my gosh, he actually does engage with his haters, and one of the biggest haters that
did he engage with you?
He did. I commented on his taste of shirts and his designs, and he actually wrote it back. He deleted it, but I do have a screenshot of it because everything on the internet is saved. And I'm like, oh, Eric Ebron responded to something I said, and he did respond. But Pro Football Focus, their Twitter account, put out a article that said, hey, these are the guys that have potential to recover from their bust seasons. And he tweeted back, LOL. So he's reading the hate, and he responds. He looks at what people say to him.
It's not hate, it's fact.
Well, the thing is that he doesn't believe that. He doesn't believe that. I don't think that he is someone that has been looked at as a bust. He still thinks, hey, I'm young. I still have the potential to grow and things like that. And he definitely needs to hang on to the football more consistently, be a bigger contributor. But to talk about Josh's article, he says, and his big point is that if you look at the Lions, they really don't have anybody in the top 3 at any of their respective positions currently. So they don't have quote-unquote superstars, which you may sometimes need in order to have a successful season.
But I think we have those players who can develop into that.
Right. Later in the article, he does say that there is potential for guys to come along and put themselves in that position.
I think you look at a guy like Ziggy Ansah. He's going to be a star in this league. He took a step last year. I think he takes another step this year. Ziggy Ansah could be one of the top defensive ends in the NFL by the end of this year. I think you look at Darius Slay, another really good season
on the list
could propel him to be one of the top cornerbacks in the league. Glover Quinn is just a really solid. I think you look at him kind of like almost like an Earl Thomas, where he sometimes is unsung, but he's really the glue of the defense. If DeAndre Levy, if he comes back, And I think there's a lot of question marks. I think Quandre Diggs, he showed a lot of potential last year. What can he do? I really do think we have the building blocks here to create superstars. What's Taylor Decker going to be? Can he become one of the top tackles in the NFL? I think it's a little too early to tell for him.
So you mentioned a name about somebody that's going to be looked at to contribute and that's going to be looking for a nice contract, Darius Slay. This is a guy that has evolved, is a player that, was inconsistent at best for the first couple of years, but last year he really became a solid defender and somebody that now the Lions could count on in that secondary. Do you think he's going to take another step forward? Because, off the field, he does do some things on his Periscope that are questionable. He does do some things, via social media that you could kind of look to and being like, kind of a guy that makes some poor choices off the field. But on the field, he's been pretty productive. You think there's a guy that can earn a high contract and live up to it?
If I use Lions logic, then no, obviously. If you go by that, then he's reached his potential. And more than likely, we're going to give him a big contract, and it's just going to blow up in our face. But I do think he has what it takes to take the next step. I think he has a drive. You see players who don't really care about that. I think Darius Slay has a drive to be a better cornerback. He has a swagger about him. I almost kind of compare him to like what Richard Sherman, not on Sherman's level, but I think he has that same kind of swagger, and that's what you need in a leader on the defense. And I think that Darius Slay can do that. I think they should be talking with him about restructuring with him, restructuring with Ziggy Ansah, because that's the foundation for the defense.
So, to end his article, he's like, well, when you look at it, and you could argue that they don't have any players maybe in the top 5, that you're going to need to take some of the players that are on your roster and make them into top guys. And he gives the same list that you do, so you're in the know. But given the Lions' track record, you don't expect that to happen quite a bit. A guy like Ziggy Ansah is definitely going to be there. Stafford's going to produce. But after that, there's a lot of question marks. And so he believes that we should, at this point in time, taper our expectations a la Ken Holland. Lower your expectations, whereas I've come out and given them already a 10-win season, not because of the equality of their talent, but when you look at the schedule, this is a league that's, you could say, a lot of parity across it. And the Lions, based upon their, what they did in the second half, with some more consistency, with a little bit of an upgrade, I don't know. I'm not hesitant to say that they could win 9 or 10 games. I'm trying to fight the urge to lower my expectations, but this article lays it out pretty good.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue for Lions fans is apathy. It's just you have that feeling that the Lions, the bottom's going to fall out at some point.
Yeah.
And obviously the history has shown us this far that it's just not going to happen. We need the team to show us that that something's changing. And I think that really has started with Bob Quinn. If you want to go, you can go all the way back to when Millen came in. And I think the whole Millen era into the Mayhew era, it's a black cloud over this entire team. And it's hard to see past that. But I think what Bob Quinn is trying to build here, and I really do hope that Jim Caldwell is the coach to take us to that next level. I think you do have to taper your expectations, but I don't think it's bad to be optimistic. I think there's more to be optimistic about the Lions than there's to be about the Tigers. I think the Tigers, you saw, they had their time, and now it's like they left the bread in the oven a little bit too long. It's starting to get a little crusty, starting to get a little stale. I mean, how much more are you going to get from Justin Verlander? How much more are you going to get from Miguel Cabrera? I think you had the pieces on the Lions. Matt Stafford, he's in the prime of his career. Can he take the next level? I mean, we haven't seen it yet. Can Golden Tate and Marvin Jones step up and be a wide receiver duo that can torch opposing defenses?
See, now, Rational One, I'll ask you to help me yet again. Is it better for me to lower my expectations if they do win 9 or 10 games, be more excited? Or should I be, stand my firm ground and say they're going to win 10, 11 games, really have faith that they're actually going to do it? because there is a likelihood based upon their history that they're going to disappoint, and I'll be crushed yet again after thinking they're going to go through the schedule and really do some damage. So should I lower my expectations or should I stick with it? 10-6, baby, 2016 playoffs.
I think for Lions fans, it's always easy to lower your expectations and then just be surprised. But I think the first kind of stepping stone to changing Lions fans' outlook on the Lions is to be more positive. Go all ahead and say that they're going to win 10 games. But know in the back of your mind that this is the NFL.
One injury away.
Anything can happen. We've seen
one rolled ankle for Stafford. The season goes away.
Hey, but then Jake Rudock will come in.
Save the day, huh?
I think you expect more from this team. We've seen it in the last couple years that they have that kind of potential. They've made the playoffs 2 years ago, and I think you can expect more. But then don't be crushed if it does fall apart, because more than like last year, you start 1-7, you finish 6-2, and I think almost the exact same thing could happen this year. But I think it's a handful of plays that really change the course of a season.
So I want to tell everybody about our podcast network, and then I want to talk about some news that was made about some happenings that are going on around downtown. Our podcast network is growing. We have almost daily shows, Monday through Sunday. You can check out all the podcasts at DetroitSportsPodcast.com. We'd love for you to subscribe on iTunes. That way, when a new show drops, then you'll be able to listen to it on demand. That's why I love podcasting, is that we can put out the best quality shows, and they're on demand. You like a story that you hear? Boom, pause it, keep it, tell a friend. You can replay it later. And we archive all our podcasts on YouTube, so you can continue to enjoy the great laughs, the great guests that come on our shows, the strong opinions, the uncensored shows that we put on here at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I greatly appreciate all the support, all the great guests that are willing to come on and share what they're doing here on our platform, and all the podcast hosts from you, Jason, to Vinny, Vito, Jerry, Adam, everybody that's been working hard to put out great shows, have a good time, and really advance the platform of podcasting. I greatly appreciate it. And as always, I always want to give a special shout out to our sponsors, everybody out there that supports us. I greatly appreciate it. You help us keep it going, and we love the relationship that we have with our sponsors. DetroitSportsPodcast.com is where you go to support this network, and hopefully we can continue to provide the great content that you become accustomed to. All right, Jason, quickly,
before you bring up this topic, even though this is coming out Tuesday, I'm looking at the Tigers right now against the Phillies. They scored 4 runs through the bottom of the 5th, all one-run home runs. Home runs.
I just tweeted JD and Miggy. Who else? Who got the other one? Was it Victor?
Castellanos.
We were just talking about it. See?
Nuts.
It's good stuff. I'm telling you, the bats are on fire, baby. I want to talk about it because I'm a guy that loves to eat food.
We both like food too much.
Yes, sir. So it was reported earlier today that the nationwide establishment, the publicly traded company Shake Shack, is coming to open in downtown. They got great food. It's a company that is really widely reputable. So it got me to thinking, because there's going to be a Wahlburgers down there. A lot of national chains are coming in here. And so I was like, oh, man. And I saw that you had gone out to Mario's and your wife ordered steak.
Wonderful. I love, dude. That's probably some of the best steak I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, it was great. It was cute to see that you guys were having a good time, and she was all happy to order it. So that was cool. So I threw out a question on our Twitter page earlier today. Is there a place you have eaten at, not in Michigan, you wish was here? And we got a great response. We got like 24 answers. Some people threw in some great places they've eaten around here, but obviously one of the big ones, and I was shocked that you told me that when we were chatting, In-N-Out. A lot of people like the burgers. They like the way you order it. They like the fries. They like the fact that basically, even if it's busy, the people come out to you in your car, take the order, and by the time you get to the register, boom, your food's ready. You pay and you walk out. A couple other ones that people had mentioned. Brent Jones said Waffle House. He tried it out in Tennessee 2 years ago. He said he wishes it was here in Detroit. Is there a restaurant or food chain that you ate at maybe outside of this state, this great state, that you wish was here in town?
Yeah, duh. Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is the best thing ever.
I've never had it. Tell me about
You've
it.
never had Chick-fil-A is the single greatest chicken sandwich that you're ever going to have. You might go to a restaurant and get a chicken sandwich that's pretty solid. But as far as fast food, Chick-fil-A, their chicken sandwich is on point. You get, and I don't like pickles, but I know they're kind of known for doing the, it's basically just, it's a steamed bun. The chicken, it's super fresh. It's not like a formed patty. You got a piece of chicken, and then I think it's a butter. They put butter on the bun, and then they put 2 pickles. I don't do pickles, but then they also have spicy chicken. Awesome. Their nuggets are great, and they're pretty friendly there.
Does the one at the airport or at Oakland University count at all?
Dude, I don't count those. You have to actually go to the airport to go to that Chick-fil-A, and I question that Chick-fil-A at Oakland actually exists. I've never seen it, so it doesn't exist to me.
Okay, Sierra gets in with Portillo's in Illinois. Seji of SNC chimes in and says Lou Malnati's, the deep dish pizza place in Chicago, is good. Mike Putnam gets in. Mexico Lindo in Waterford has the best chimichangas on the planet.
I'd like to see Primanti Brothers, too. They're from Pittsburgh.
You didn't hear the news?
Are they coming here?
I tweeted it out. They're coming here. They're opening a couple locations very soon.
That's
the Primanti
solid.
Brothers are coming. I tweeted out
the sandwich with the fries on it. Man, that's crazy.
Is that what's the big attraction? You've had it?
Yeah. We tried as we in our trip a couple years ago. We went to New York and we were gonna try and stop by one in Pittsburgh, but we passed by it, unfortunately.
Ed Miller says the Weber Grill in Chicago. Chad chimes in, Whataburger. So a lot of people definitely like hamburgers that are outside of Michigan. But, Michigan has some great burger places. Five Guys is really good. You can get it pretty quickly.
Five Guys, it's not exclusive to Michigan, though.
Right. So, but a lot of people do like In-N-Out. A lot of people do like these burger joints that are outside of Michigan as well.
Not a fan of In-N-Out, though. I know you brought it up, and I know people they go nuts over In-N-Out. I had it once when we went to California last year. I wasn't super impressed. The service was fine. It was always super busy. But I'm not a fan of the Thousand Island dressing, and the fries were kind of skinny.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite burger joint around town? If you're going to get one burger, I know I've asked you before, but it slipped my mind. If you can get one hamburger and you say it's worth the money and delicious and it delivers more times than not, because you don't want to go to a burger place that delivers half the time and you have to guess whether you are going to get a good quality hamburger. Where do I go?
More often than not, I'd go to Five Guys.
Yeah.
If you're going strictly for like a fast food type place, I think Five Guys is the place where you get a solid cheeseburger. If you're looking for a more upscale restaurant, I don't know. I'm sure there's a homeschool restaurant, but you can never go wrong with Red Robin.
Yeah, a lot of people like Red Robin. A lot of people, around town do like Five Guys indeed. Do you ever get the White Castle crave still and do the crave? You still?
I every now and then, and I hate myself afterwards. Like I get that, I'm like, man, I want some White Castles, and then I get like 10, and I feel horrible, and I'm burping up the onions. I'm like, oh man, that was probably not the best idea.
See, lately since I went to the doctor, I can't eat. I have to talk about it and not go to these places. But okay.
There is one burger place, and I forget what it's called. But it's like a burger like collection. It's this, I think it's a random place in Detroit, and they make these gigantic burgers. The guys at the station got it one time, and Joey gave me half of his burger. It was cold. It was delicious. It was a burger. The burger was probably about 2 inches thick, and then it had about another inch of corned beef on it.
Oh, nice.
With cheese.
So when you find out, definitely tweet at me what the name of the place is.
I will.
Okay, so Metro Detroit is, downtown is going to be a hotbed of great places, and I'm interested to hear what this new location, Shake Shack, coming downtown to also compete alongside Wahlburgers and the other chains that are out there. Hey, it's nice to see what Detroit's doing. Bring them down. Let's see what happens. Let's see if they can compete. You think they all last downtown or no?
I think they're really building up.
Do you think we're like provincial, where we want to stick with local guys and local burger joints?
Does it say where it's going? If it's going to be in the Campus Martius area, I think it's going to thrive. That whole kind of Woodward from Jefferson to Midtown, you've seen. They've brought in Hopcat. That's a big place that's there now. they've brought in places. And I think with what Dan Gilbert is doing there and with what the Ilitches are trying to create with the district, it's going to thrive. It's probably going to be busy as hell. Like, I know there's going to be a ton of people who want to go try Shake Shack. You're going to be better off waiting probably about 2 months before trying to get there.
Great podcast. Thank you for spending the last hour with me, chatting sports, chatting restaurants, chatting about the Lions. I always say, you have a good time and time flies. I wish we could chat for a couple more hours, but trying to save that money to buy the jersey. So I'm turning out the lights, brother.
Well, yeah, you got to save some electricity somehow. Oh, you're charging me all the money. Oh, sorry. Was that me? You're pointing at me? I was taking a sip of water.
You're supposed to close the show out.
Supposed to close the show.
You're the
fine.
big host of the show.
I guess that'll do it for this episode of the Motor City Sports Rant. As always, Jason Jarvi. He's John Macaroon. But until next week, you guys have a good one.
Okay, nice, idiot. You. Bye-bye.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Loser.